The courage to see clearly. There's a particular kind of pain that comes from suspecting betrayal, but not knowing for certain. You notice things that feel off, small changes, subtle shifts, patterns that don't quite add up. Part of you wants to investigate, to know the truth. Another part wants to look away, to preserve the illusion of security for just a little longer. The ancient Stoics understood this tension intimately. Marcus Aurelius, despite being emperor of Rome, faced betrayal from those closest to him, advisors, family members, and possibly even his wife. Yet he wrote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." He knew that suspicion isn't the same as knowledge, that our fears can distort our perceptions. But he also wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth, by which no one was ever truly harmed." The Stoics valued truth above comfort. They believed that facing reality, however painful, is always better than living in delusion. Today, we're going to explore 7 signs that may indicate infidelity, but we're going to approach this topic the Stoic way, with rationality, not paranoia, with observation, not accusation, with courage to face the truth, whatever it might be. Before we begin, understand this. These signs don't prove anything on their own. They're patterns to observe, data points to consider. The Stoics taught careful judgment based on evidence, not hasty conclusions based on fear. Some of these behaviors might have innocent explanations. Some might indicate problems in the relationship that aren't infidelity, and some might indeed point to betrayal. Your task isn't to become a detective obsessed with catching someone. It's to become clearer about reality, so you can make wise decisions about your life. As Epictetus taught, circumstances don't make the man. They only reveal him to himself. This situation, whatever the truth turns out to be, is revealing something about her, about you, about the relationship. Let's examine the signs with clear eyes and steady hearts. Sign 1. The phone becomes a fortress. The pattern: the phone used to sit casually on the table between you. Now it's always face down, always in her pocket or purse, always password protected in ways it wasn't before. She used to answer texts and calls in front of you without hesitation. Now she steps into another room, or waits until you're not around, or suddenly develops a need for privacy that never existed before. The phone is never left unattended. If she goes to shower, it comes with her. If she's cooking dinner, it's on the counter within reach. If you pick it up casually to check the time or hand it to her, there's a flash of panic in her eyes, quickly concealed but unmistakable. Notifications are suddenly silenced. The screen no longer lights up with message previews. Apps that used to be open are now password protected. When calls come in, she glances at the screen, then ignores them, claiming it's just work or spam or nobody important. Why this matters? In the Stoic framework, sudden changes in behavior warrant observation. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the importance of noting inconsistencies between words and actions. If someone claims nothing has changed, while their behavior demonstrates clear changes, one of these things is lying, and it's not the behavior. The phone is modern life's primary communication channel. It's where connections happen, where conversations unfold, where relationships are maintained. When someone suddenly guards their phone with unprecedented vigilance, they're guarding something on that phone they don't want you to see. This doesn't automatically mean infidelity. It could mean financial problems she's hiding, family issues she doesn't want to discuss, or even planning a surprise. But combined with other signs, increased phone secrecy is a red flag worth noting. The Stoic response. Epictetus taught that we should focus on what we can control, our own thoughts, choices, and responses, not on controlling others. You cannot force transparency. You cannot demand access to her phone without destroying whatever trust remains. But you can observe. You can note the pattern. You can recognize that this change exists and means something, even if you don't yet know what. More importantly, you can ask yourself, am I in a relationship where basic transparency exists? Do I want to be in a relationship where I must constantly wonder what's being hidden? These are questions about your own boundaries and values, which are entirely within your control. If you choose to address this directly, do so calmly and clearly. I've noticed you've become very protective of your phone in ways you weren't before. That change makes me wonder what's going on. Can we talk about it? Her response, both what she says and how she says it, will give you more information. Sign 2. Emotional distance and disconnection. The pattern. The emotional warmth has drained from the relationship like water from a cracked vessel. Conversations that used to flow naturally now feel forced and superficial. She's physically present, but emotionally absent, looking at you but not seeing you, hearing you but not listening. The small acts of affection have disappeared. No more spontaneous touches, casual kisses, or warm embraces. The eye contact that used to create connection now slides away. When you try to engage her in meaningful conversation, you get one-word answers, distracted nods, or claims of being tired or stressed. She used to ask about your day, your thoughts, your feelings. Now she doesn't ask, and when you volunteer information, her response is polite but hollow, going through the motions of interest without actual engagement. You feel like you're talking to a polite stranger, not to someone who knows and loves you. The emotional intimacy that once existed, sharing dreams, fears, vulnerabilities, has evaporated. She no longer confides in you about her struggles or seeks your support with her challenges. It's as if she's built a wall between you, and you're on the outside looking at a facade. Why this matters? Seneca wrote, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for crisis." But he also wrote about the importance of genuine connection between people who care for each other. When someone withdraws emotionally from a primary relationship, their emotional energy is going somewhere. The question is where. Often, emotional disconnection precedes or accompanies physical infidelity. When someone is giving their emotional energy, attention, and excitement to another person, there's less available for you. They pull away, not necessarily out of malice, but because their heart is elsewhere. Sometimes emotional distance indicates other problems, depression, stress, personal struggles that have nothing to do with infidelity. But when combined with other signs on this list, emotional withdrawal becomes more significant. The Stoic response. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You cannot force someone to connect with you emotionally. You cannot make someone love you or want to be close to you, but you can recognize when that connection no longer exists. You can acknowledge the reality of the distance, and you can decide whether you're willing to live in a relationship that feels like living alone." The Stoic approach is to address what you observe directly. "I feel like there's a distance between us that didn't used to be there. I feel like we're not connecting the way we once did. Is that something you feel too? Can we talk about what's happening?" Her response, whether she acknowledges it and wants to work on it, or dismisses your feelings and refuses to engage, tells you what you need to know about the relationship's trajectory. Sign 3. Sudden changes in appearance and habits. The pattern. She's suddenly invested in her appearance in ways she hasn't been in years. New clothes, especially new underwear you never see her wear around you. Regular trips to the salon, gym sessions that weren't part of her routine before. Attention to grooming and presentation that seems out of proportion to normal life. But here's the key detail. This increased attention to appearance doesn't seem to be for you. She dresses up to go to work or run errands, but comes home and immediately changes into sweats. She looks amazing going out the door, but makes no effort during the time you spend together. The care she's taking with her appearance is clearly for someone else's eyes. Her schedule is changed with vague explanations, new hobbies, new friends, new commitments that take her away from home with increasing frequency. Working late becomes a regular occurrence. Girls' night out happens more often. Weekend errands take hours longer than they used to. She's developed new interests that she doesn't share with you or invite you into. New music on her playlist. New shows she's watching without you. New topics she mentions but doesn't explain. It's as if she's living a parallel life you're not part of. Why this matters? The Stoics taught that behavior reveals priority. What someone invests energy in shows what they value. When someone suddenly invests significant new energy into appearance and activities that exclude you, they're prioritizing something or someone else. Epictetus would note that humans naturally direct their effort toward what they find rewarding. If she's putting effort into looking good, but that effort isn't directed toward your shared life, the reward she's seeking exists outside your relationship. This doesn't necessarily prove infidelity. It might indicate she's trying to reclaim personal identity, addressing depression by improving self-care, or dealing with work pressures that require more professional presentation. But combined with other signs, these changes form a concerning pattern. The Stoic response. The Stoic virtue of wisdom includes the ability to distinguish between things that matter and things that don't. Some changes are positive growth. Some changes are red flags. Observe whether these changes seem to be about self-improvement that includes you. I'm working on myself and I'd love for us to be healthier together. Or self-improvement that excludes you. I'm doing this for me, and it has nothing to do with you. You can express appreciation while also seeking clarity. I've noticed you're taking really good care of yourself lately, and you look great. I'm curious about what's inspired these changes. The way she responds, whether she lights up and shares openly, or becomes defensive and evasive, gives you information. Sign 4. Defensive reactions and projection. The pattern. Simple questions that used to get simple answers now trigger defensive reactions. How was your day? Is met with, why are you interrogating me? Who was that text from? Prompts, why don't you trust me? Where were you? Provokes, I'm not on trial here. The defensiveness is disproportionate to the situation. Casual inquiries that are normal in any relationship are suddenly treated as accusations. She acts like you're being unreasonable for asking basic questions about her life, her whereabouts, or her plans. Even more telling, she begins accusing you of the very thing you suspect her of doing. You're probably cheating on me comes out of nowhere when you've given no indication of infidelity. She projects suspicion, jealousy, and accusations onto you as a way of deflecting attention from her own behavior. She picks fights over small things as if looking for reasons to create distance, to justify time away, or to have an excuse for the emotional disconnection. Arguments escalate quickly over trivial matters, and she seems almost eager for conflict. Why this matters? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When someone is living a lie, their thoughts are constantly managing that lie, remembering what they've said to whom, maintaining separate narratives, anticipating questions that might expose them. This constant mental effort creates stress, which manifests as irritability and defensiveness. The person living a double life feels constantly on guard, expecting to be caught, and therefore interprets innocent questions as threats. Projection, accusing others of what you're doing yourself, is a well-documented psychological defense mechanism. By accusing you of cheating or of being suspicious and controlling, she shifts the focus away from her behavior and puts you on the defensive instead. The Stoic response. Seneca advised, associate with people who are likely to improve you. But he also warned about people who create chaos and confusion rather than clarity and peace. Constant defensiveness and projection create an environment where honest communication becomes impossible. The Stoic approach is to refuse to be drawn into the chaos. When met with disproportionate defensiveness, you can respond calmly. I asked a simple question and got an angry response. That reaction feels out of proportion. What's really going on? If she continues to deflect and attack, you've learned something important. She's unwilling or unable to engage honestly. That's information you can use in deciding whether this relationship serves your well-being and growth. Sign 5. Changes in physical intimacy. The pattern. The physical dimension of your relationship has shifted in noticeable ways. This can manifest as either extreme, sudden disinterest, or sudden change in preferences. In the first scenario, physical intimacy becomes rare or non-existent. She's always too tired, too stressed, not feeling well, not in the mood. What used to be a natural expression of connection has become something she avoids. When it does happen, she seems distant, mechanical, eager for it to be over. In the second scenario, there are sudden changes in what she wants or how she engages physically. New preferences appear that she's never mentioned before. Different techniques, positions, or activities that seem to come from somewhere outside your relationship's history. Sometimes you notice physical changes that don't make sense in the context of your shared life. Marks, scents, or other evidence that suggests physical contact you weren't part of. Her body language around you changes. She flinches from your touch, maintains more physical distance, or seems uncomfortable with intimacy that used to be natural. Why this matters? The Stoics understood that humans are embodied beings. We express our feelings and commitments through physical presence and touch. When the physical dimension of a relationship changes dramatically, it often reflects changes in emotional connection and commitment. If someone is being physically intimate with someone else, they often pull away from physical intimacy with their partner, either from guilt, from being physically satisfied elsewhere, or from unconsciously reserving that energy for the affair. Alternatively, if someone is learning new preferences from a new partner, those preferences sometimes show up in the primary relationship. It's as if they forget momentarily which relationship they're in. The Stoic response. Epictetus taught that we should concern ourselves with what we can control. You cannot control someone else's desire or choices, but you can observe changes, note patterns, and make decisions about what you're willing to accept. Physical intimacy is a legitimate part of most romantic relationships. If that dimension has changed dramatically, it's appropriate to address it directly. I've noticed our physical connection has changed. I'm wondering what that means for you and for us. How she responds, whether with honest conversation about what's happening or with further avoidance and defensiveness, tells you whether working on the relationship is even possible. Sign 6. Financial irregularities and secrecy. The pattern. Money is suddenly disappearing with vague or inconsistent explanations. Cash withdrawals that don't match up with normal spending. Credit card charges at hotels, restaurants, or stores that don't fit her usual patterns. Unexplained expenses that she gets defensive about when questioned. She's become secretive about finances in ways she wasn't before. If you previously had shared accounts or financial transparency, she's suddenly opening separate accounts, hiding statements, or becoming evasive about where money is going. There's evidence of gifts being purchased that you never receive. Charges at jewelry stores, lingerie shops, or gift retailers, but you never see these items. When you notice and ask, the explanations are vague. Oh, that was for a friend's birthday, or I returned that, or that charge is wrong. She's spending money on appearance, activities, or experiences that don't include you. Hotel rooms for staycations you didn't share, restaurant charges for meals you didn't eat, event tickets for shows you didn't attend together. Why this matters? Seneca wrote about the connection between integrity and honesty in all aspects of life. Financial secrecy in a relationship where finances were previously transparent represents a breach of trust that goes beyond money. It indicates hidden activities that require hidden funding. Affairs cost money. Hotel rooms, gifts, dinners, entertainment. If someone is conducting an affair, financial evidence often exists. The attempt to hide this evidence creates the secrecy and defensiveness around finances. This doesn't mean every unexplained expense indicates infidelity. But when financial irregularities appear alongside other signs on this list, they form part of a larger pattern that deserves attention. The Stoic response. Marcus Aurelius believed in facing reality directly. If you share finances or have legitimate reasons to know about major expenditures, addressing financial irregularities is reasonable. I noticed some charges that don't match our usual spending patterns. Can you help me understand what those were for? If she becomes hostile at reasonable questions about shared money, you've learned something important about her respect for you and the relationship. The Stoic would note this information and use it in determining whether the relationship meets his standards for partnership. Sign 7. Changes in social patterns and friend groups. Here, the pattern. She's developed a new friend or group of friends that she's intensely invested in, but doesn't want you to meet. When you suggest joining her for activities with these friends, she makes excuses about why that won't work. These friendships seem to exist in a separate compartment of her life that you're not welcome to enter. Her old friends, the ones you both knew, suddenly aren't around as much. She's spending less time with the couples you socialized with together, and more time with new people you don't know and aren't introduced to. When you do meet her friends, there's a strange energy, awkwardness, knowing glances, or a sense that you're being studied or judged. Her friends seem to know things about your relationship that you never discussed with them, or they slip up and mention things she supposedly never told them. She's suddenly very interested in a particular coworker, talking about them frequently, defending them against any criticism, finding excuses to spend time with them outside of work. This person's name comes up often, but meeting them never happens, despite your expressed interest. Social media patterns change. She's tagged in photos or locations she never mentioned. She's removed relationship indicators or photos of you two together. She's protective of who can see her posts or who she follows. Why this matters? The Stoics valued community and believed that our associations reveal our character. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. The people we choose to spend time with influence those thoughts. When someone creates a separate social life that deliberately excludes their partner, they're maintaining a boundary that protects something. If the new friends are healthy influences and the activities are innocent, why the secrecy? Why the resistance to integration? Often, the new friend is the affair partner, or friends are providing cover for affair activities. The resistance to introducing you stems from the deception being harder to maintain if worlds collide. The Stoic response. Epictetus taught about the importance of authentic relationships and the avoidance of deception. If your partner is creating a deliberately separate social world, you can address it. I feel like there's a whole part of your life I'm not included in. That feels strange given that we're supposed to be partners. Can we talk about why that is? A healthy response would involve understanding your feelings and working toward integration. A defensive or dismissive response suggests the separation is intentional and protective of something she doesn't want you to see.